Peter, how do estate agents recruit the best valuers and negotiators and managers?
Well, it's a big issue at the moment because, of course, the industry is suffering from a lack of quality people coming forward. So, to my own way, if I was going back in there again, I think it's all about homegrown. I think it's about actually getting people and working them through the system. Now, again, it's a bit like we talked about in another video. We talked about the importance of marketing for future business as opposed to current business. So, if you've got a current need to employ a valuer, let's say, because you've got a gap in your business, you've got to fill that gap. But ideally, what you should be doing is doing it in advance, in the same way.
Go back in time.
Yeah, exactly. And if you start to maintain relationships with people, again, the same way that you should do with your clients, as and when a vacancy occurs, so you're more likely to be able to have a pool of talent you can actually go to.
Because the amount of times I've heard someone say, I'd like to work for him, but if you build a relationship up with the Negs in all the towns, in the town and the valuers, you're more likely to get them. But you have to build those relationships now. Completely. You can't be ignoring them now, can you?
Well, one of the things that we teach our members is a process, we call it the future organisational chart. And I got this from the States, and I think it's a brilliant concept, where you map out your business 3 to 5 years out and say, okay, what additional roles am I likely to need? Now, if you think that millennials change jobs on average every 18 months, right, not only have you got those additional new roles, but you've also got to replace the ones that are there. And I think the job of an estate agency owner, I think that their number one, their key role of all the roles they do is to be the attraction magnet, is to be the talent finder.
Interesting you talk about millennials. You talk to an awful lot of estate agents in the Property Academy. Have you got any tips for anyone, agents out there, to try and keep these millennials happy?
Yeah, give them meaningful, purposeful work. I mean, at 19, I managed my first office. Now, when I say I managed my first office, boy, I was out of my depth. I was completely and utterly wet behind the ears in many respects. But I was like the Duracell bunny on speed when it came to energy and passion and so on. And what's ironical, Chris, is today we've got more checks and processes in place than there were then, right? And it seems, though, that we will never, most agents will not allow anybody until they're in their late 20s, 30s to actually run an office. Why? Why not give young talent the opportunity to go out there and really do what a great estate agent is?
Because you can keep an eye on them with the numbers.
Of course you can, and you guide them and you build them up to it. So I think what we need to start to look at is building again a proper career program. Now, when millennials change jobs, right? What the reason they're doing this for, fundamentally, it could be changing jobs within the same company. They just want a new role. They do not want to be doing the same thing. And who does?
Do you think we as 14, 15, 16-year-old estate agency bosses need to be more aware of that and sit down and plan it? Well, this is exactly what you said about your Property Academy planning.
Completely. And to my mind, I think that taking younger talent, developing that talent yourself, in anticipation of the absolute knowledge that you're going to have some gaps that are going to come along, means you've got people ready to go. And it's a bit like, look, we've just had the World Cup, okay, whenever this is broadcast, 2018 World Cup in Russia. And Gareth Southgate has played some young talent and put them into play. And we've watched them absolutely flourish. We've all been just blown away by how well they've performed. And I think that is an example of what we've just got to give them a chance. So in the absence of seasoned quality people, there's lots of seasoned people out there, but seasoned quality people, because there's a lot of exited the industry. I think it's great to bring young talent, but you need to be doing it now and anticipate now for 6-12 months down the track. There's no point if you've got a gap now. Yeah, you've got to fill that gap now. But I do remember once. A seminar that I attended, and there was somebody from Apple who was the HR director of Apple, and this individual was getting challenged because he said that at Apple they only employ what they call A-star players, and the audience question said, well, that can't be right. I mean, I get the fact you go for that. There must be times where you have to plug a gap. There has to be a time where you have to fill a role, and you must therefore go employ other than it. He goes. His reply was. He said, better a hole than an asshole. And I think all too often we're recruiting purely to fill a hole, to fill a gap. And that brings on a whole nother subject, Chris, perhaps for another day, but around the actual composition of the agency model in itself, where the old traditional model, a manager of sales, a manager of lettings, 2 negotiators and an administrator, classic sort of office dynamic. I'm afraid in too many places that model is just no longer appropriate. It just doesn't work in terms of the revenues that you would need to generate to support that. So I think it's a time when it comes to talent management. It's an opportunity for people to look at their entire business from the perspective of saying, right, how can we bring young people on board? We've got all the tools to supervise them. What do we need to do to develop them to the next level? How can we help them, provide them with a career that excites them, move them every 18 months into other areas? Get people wanting to be an estate agent again rather than it being a fallback position because they couldn't get another job.
Training, development, strategy, that's what it's all about, but most people don't do this.
No.
But if they did this, they'd win.
Estate agents are brilliant. Estate agents are incredibly brilliant at being reactive. They're brilliant in terms of the here and now in many instances. However, unfortunately for businesses today, that brilliance is no longer as valuable as it might have been. Today, with all the disruptive models that have come in, with all the other changes that have come in terms of other sectors, we've got to start planning our businesses out with at least a 3 to 5 year outlook as opposed to a 3-day outlook, which I'm afraid is all too often the case. So it's a combination of being, bang on it in the moment. Del Norton of Romans always used to say to me, every market makes a market, and the trick is to know when the market is changing and adapting accordingly. So you've got to be bright on that. But you can predict 3 to 5 years out with your business planning. I'm going to need this person. I'm going to need this new role. I'm going to need that role. And could you start then the process of trying to identify those people now, so that when it comes round, or you put your radar up, you suddenly will notice people. You go, oh, she's fantastic. I'd love to get her on board. Blah, blah. And you can start a courtship to get somebody to come into your business. Whereas if you need that person now, 1, you're desperate. Right. 2,
and you have to pay top dollar.
Exactly, you'll be there. And 3, she may well be very happy in her role at that point in time. But if you've been nurturing a relationship over 1, 2, 3 years, and she goes, you know what, people, Chris cares more about me than my current employer does. I get more feedback from him than I do from my current employer. It's at the very least, I'll go and have a chat.
It comes back down to long-term planning, strategy,
life.
Brilliant. Thank you. Cheers.